I'm like,
Did you have to go out and count crud?
no, I'm looking at my homework, and I'm reading what they said, and I did exactly the same thing for the two problems here, but then you marked me right for one, and then I did the exact same thing for the next one, and put a question mark, and I'm either smoking crack or...
Oh, I just didn't grade that one because wasn't part of the assignment.
Okay, so what the hell is this meaning then? Are they wanting this to identify 0, 1, and 75?
Those are the whole numbers. Yes.
As a group, though.
What do you mean? Yes.
That's what do you mean as a group?
No. From that list of numbers, tell me which ones are the whole numbers.
Yeah, that's
all
what
of
I
them.
did. Like,
and which ones are the counting numbers.
Like I did.
All of them except 0.
Correct.
I don't understand. You only went 0.
No, I didn't. Right here. And I said put 1 and 75 are counted.
But the whole numbers from that list were 0, 1, and 75. Right. Every counting number is a whole number. Mm-hmm. It just adds the idea of 0. Every whole number is an integer. It just adds the idea of negatives. That's all. So if I said, which one, we're getting into integers today. So if I said, which ones of those are counting numbers?
3 on.
Careful.
3 and 1.
3 and 1, yeah.
3.
Oh, not 0.
Those are counting numbers.
0 is the whole number.
Counting is what came naturally to us. 1, 2, 3.
-4 is integer.
Which ones are whole? I know that these are whole numbers automatically.
You're right.
0, 1, 2, 3.
0.
There's not 2.
And the imaginary too, yeah. Guys, which ones are integers? All of them. All of them are integers. Because integers are all the whole numbers plus the negatives. Rational numbers. You ever heard of rational number ratios? They're all the integers plus the fractions in between.
Yeah.
They add the idea of fractions because that had to be invented.
My brain is still not...
Okay. And it's just, we haven't talked about all of them yet because this book really breaks them out. We've done the whole numbers. Now today we're going to get into the integers. Right? We're going to get into the fractions, the rational numbers later. I like it.
I'm still registering. It's fine, I'll go to tutoring.
But it's just counting numbers. If I said count your fingers, that's the beginning of counting numbers. 1, 2, 3. You wouldn't say 0. What came naturally to us is 1, 2, 3. Sometimes these are called the natural numbers. That's what I'm more used to seeing. They're what came naturally to us. But they're also calling numbers because you go 1, 2, 3. I wouldn't go, let me count you guys. 0, 1, 2. You'd be like, what the hell's wrong with that guy? So counting numbers is how I count things. If there's nothing, I'm not going to sit there and go, let me count all the chickens on my table. 0. No, why would I do that? That's the counting numbers. Whole numbers are everything you've written so far plus 0. Because it's the number that looks like a whole. But it's nothing more than that. And then integers, that's what we're getting into today, are everything we've talked about so far plus the negatives. And we had to invent that to describe, my bank account back in college.
So integers go backwards?
Yeah. Here's the whole numbers.
Yeah.
And then integers adds these in. And then rational adds in all the numbers in between here, or most of them anyway. All the fraction stuff, right? And then irrational ones add in the really freaky ones like square root of 2 and pi.
The whole numbers go
0 and up.
Okay.
That's whole numbers. I like it. And integers just go 0 both directions. 1, 2, 3, and negative 1, negative 2, negative 3.
For example, 169, how do you know which whole number?
169?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean from like the section 1-1? Oh boy, I don't have that part up here. That's not really part of the homework then. Oh, 469.
Oh, sorry.
Is that one? Oh, no. That's not what that says though. Which one are you looking at? Which one are you looking at? What number on there?
Chapter 1.
Sure, sure. Well, which number are you looking at?
Number I'm looking at is 469.
So that one just says rounded. That's all it says. Yeah. All right.
Whole numbers.
Just, yeah, rounded to the nearest tenth. Right? Okay. All right, guys. Say again. Oh, yeah. If I remember, when I get to my office, I can email her and tell her the homework is on that sheet. You should have a homework sheet, right? Okay. The sheet? Or no? Oh, yeah. Yes. All right. So, guys, we finished chapter 2 last time. We had a quiz last time. That was exciting. We're going to have another quiz Thursday.
Over what?
Now, if you guys obviously don't know this yet, but you want more grades.
Yes.
Do any of you understand this yet?
No.
You haven't been in college long enough to realize you want... I had a class where the only grade was the oral final exam. It's horrible. They put us each in a room, gave us a problem to work on, and then they came back, and the girl in the room next to me had a nervous breakdown, and I'm writing, she's, and I'm over there just writing. But you want more quizzes. If you don't understand that, I'm going to do what's right by you if you understand it or not. So, you're welcome. This quiz will cover chapter 2, basically. Thursday. This Thursday. Yes, ma'am.
If we want to do the quiz corrections from the last quiz, we have to do it before.
No. Quiz corrections, test corrections, always do by the day of the next test.
Oh, okay.
Quizzes are just quizzes. Tests are tests. Yeah. Good. Yes.
The same 6 questions.
Yeah, all my quizzes are somewhere between 5, 6, 7 questions. Yeah. I try to make them all the same kind of length.
So on the homework sheet or whatever, it says that there's going to be a test on 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
Throughout those, you'll have to get like quizzes like that.
So right here, guys, see how the first test is on the 15th? That's a week from this Thursday, right?
Wait, what day? Thursday.
You guys see that? If only I would have told you like on the first day or something when every test is going to... I did, yes, right. So this Thursday, I'll give the quiz. I'll have it graded by next Tuesday, so you have a couple days to do the corrections. This Thursday, I also will give you a practice test, and next Tuesday, I'll give you the answer key to that test, that practice test. Because next Tuesday will just be review day, right? Are we good so far? Yes?
Since you just have the test, you didn't have anything about quizzes, so for now, what's oral and first class?
Well, not necessarily. I don't know. I'll never give a pop quiz. I always give you at least one day in advance warning, right? I never give a pop quiz. But I don't put them here because I don't know when I'm going to have time to do them or when we're going to be getting through stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Stay with me now. Yes.
Do you have a specific section of the chapter 2 is Jewish?
No. So chapter 2, the best thing you can do for yourself is obviously do the homework. But they also have at the end a little review section, right? So it's basically like terms, factoring numbers, right? Plugging stuff in to check equations, prime factors, stuff like that. I know it seems like a lot, but it really isn't a lot. They're all kind of related to each other. And they got a little review section back here at the end too.
Do we have to do it?
No, but it's just something else you could look at to help you get ready for the test. You know?
I thought you were expecting this. That's really good.
No, I didn't put it down on the homework sheet, so.
How many questions do we have to test?
So like 8 to 10.
No. Quizzes are like 5 to 7. Tests will be in the 20s somewhere. Yeah. And when I say test has 20 some odd questions, I am counting like A, B, C, D. I hate it when a teacher says there's 5 questions and they're all A through J. And I'm like, that ain't 5 questions. There's 1, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. That's one problem. So no, it ain't. All right, here we go. So we're done with 2. Everybody's asked their questions they got. We're going to get into chapter 3.
Let's go.
All right.
Because.
It doesn't matter if you like it or not.
These are dicks.
All right. So, I mean, here's the thing. There's the chapter outline. So this chapter, I kind of like this. This book kind of overlaps itself a bit. So I don't know if you've noticed, we haven't done something like 7 minus 10 directly yet. We haven't talked about that yet, really. And I was careful in the quiz to not have anything like that. It was all whole numbers and subtract that didn't end up negative. Now that we're talking about integers, they add the idea of negative numbers. So now I have to know how to do something like this. Let me see where you guys are. Can you do? Don't say this out loud. Just take a minute. There's always somebody who can't help themselves. Let's see. All right, now, who's got the answer to that? Negative 11. Okay, so let's talk about why. There's a lot of weird-ass ways to think about this. I had ways I used to talk about, like if you dug 4 feet down and then dug 7 more feet down, where would you be? In deep shit. No, you'd be 11 feet under the ground, right? So that's why it's like, or if I owe you $4 and I owe you $7, overall I owe 11. I wish that 2 negatives canceled when I was putting them together, but 2 negatives only cancel when I am multiplying them. I can't take 2 debts and go, poof, the bank owes me money. No, it doesn't. I tried. Yes?
What if they had okay, 4 minus, okay,
All right.
negative 4 and then minus negative 7.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. What's the operation here?
That's multiply.
Multiply. What's negative times negative?
Positive.
So that becomes negative 4 plus 7. Now, if I owe you $4 and I find $7 on the ground, can I pay him off?
Yes.
And how much money do I have left over? So I'm 3 in the good.
Yeah, man, burrito money.
So here's the yes.
You didn't have parentheses?
Well, I wouldn't not put parentheses because this looks weird, and this could become like one big eyebrow.
Free college.
You know what I mean? It could very easily fuse together. Fusion, right? So we normally, the only reason we put this is to make sure that people understand there are 2 negatives there. And the 2 negatives, of course, hopefully we're all cool with this. They change. So like a negative by itself means, the easiest way I can explain it is a negative means turn around. Because where is 7 on the number line? There. And what do I do when I multiply by negative? It turns around, right? Like a full 180-degree turn. So if I multiply by negative again, it's going to turn around again. So negative 7 would end up back at 7. That's why 2 negatives cancel, because a negative by itself means turn around. So if I said turn around twice, turn around. Now turn around again. Okay. Right? That means I'm going to be right back to where I was. That's the only reason 2 negatives multiply to be a positive. They cancel each other out. Because it really does mean turn around. That's all it means. All right, how are we doing there? So those 2 negatives become a positive. Now let me give you this. I kind of like the visuals, like the digging and the money. But you only have to remember 2 things. If they are the same sign, you add the numbers and put the sign back on. If they are different signs, you subtract them and put the sign of the bigger one back on. So here they're different numbers, different signs, right?
Yep.
That's negative, that's positive. 7 minus 4 is 3. Which one's bigger? It's positive, so the answer is positive. Done. To me, that's better than all the visuals, because there's only 2 things you have to remember. So for example, if I had negative 18 plus 15, same sign or different signs?
Different sign.
Different signs. So what's 18 minus 15? 3. And which one's bigger? So it'd be negative 3. That's it. That's it. Now some of you guys might not have to go that deep. You might realize, just to show you once, you don't have to do this. But isn't negative 18, isn't that, if I owe you 15, how much do I owe him? So I owe 18 altogether. I owe her 15, I owe him how much? So that I owe 18 altogether. 3. Are you guys? So negative 18 is negative 15 minus 3. Stay with me now. I really want you to get this. It's kind of nifty. So if I wrote this as negative 15 minus 3 plus 15, what do these do to each other? So then I'm left with negative 3. So it's really like, how much extra negative is there? There's extra negative in this problem because the big one's negative. There's extra positive in this problem because the bigger one's positive. How much extra is the answer? Do you guys get that? That's another way to look at it. Some of you guys might like to look at it that way. Some of you guys are like, what the hell did he just say? Then you can just remember the rules. Different sign, subtract, bigger sign goes on. Same sign, add, that sign goes back on. Bam, that's it. That covers all sign number operations. I'm sorry, does somebody have a hand up? I was just on a roll. No? Okay. All right. So that's all I'll say about that for right now. Right?
That's all I got to say.
That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
We didn't hear what you said. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So just make sure we're all cool with this. I just did an example of finding this, but you should definitely be able to locate, sign numbers in the number line. You should be able to locate negative 3, for example. If I ask you to put a point on negative 3, where would you go? 3 back, right? So the negative sort of means go down, and the positive means go up or left. So now, a visual way of thinking about something like this. If I had negative 3 plus 5, plus 5 means go.
Right.
So I have to go 3 spots just to get to 0, right?
Yep.
And I want to go up 5. How many more spots do I have to go? 2. So you go 1, 2, 3 just to get to 0, and then 1, 2 more. So of course, negative 3 plus 5 is positive 2. So you can think about adding and subtracting as directions about which way to go. And you say, where do I start and where do I end up after doing this? That's another way to think about. There's all these different ways. And they all say the same thing. There's 2 extra here. 2 extra past 0. That's why you end up at 2. Okay. Maybe. So don't feel bad if you have trouble with this kind of problem, because I have students in my Math 110 classes that have trouble with this kind of problem. Right? It just kind of lingers. All right. 2 things that I want to introduce are the idea of opposite and, of course, the idea of absolute value. Oh, shit. Let's start with opposite first. The bad thing with just saying opposite is there are 2 kinds of opposites. What comes to mind if I said, what's the opposite of 7? Yeah, the thing that would come to mind, especially considering what we're talking about, is you would say that's negative 7. But if you ask a mathematician this question, they would say that's not enough information. The answer could be negative 7, or it could be 1/7. 1/7 is a different kind of opposite of 7. This is is everybody sort of with me so far?
Yeah.
So opposite could mean additive opposite, or what's more officially called additive inverse. Inverse is kind of like another name for opposite. But I'll call it the additive opposite for right now. And this would be the multiplicative inverse or opposite. So right now when they say opposite, they actually mean additive opposite. So How do you make a number the opposite of where it currently is? The additive opposite. What do you do? So what's the opposite of negative 4? Additive opposite.
Positive.
Positive 4. So what do you do to it? You change the sign, right? You actually do this. If that's negative 4, the opposite, become a T, of negative 4 would be this. The opposite of negative 4. That's the opposite of negative 4. What's negative times negative?
Positive.
Positive. There you go. So the actual thing, you stop there for a second. The actual thing you are doing when you find the opposite number is you're multiplying it by negative. Why is the opposite of 7 negative 7? Because what's 7 times negative 1? Negative 7. Negative 4 times negative 1? 4. Now you can think, well, Jeff, why are you being... You just changed the sign. Beautiful. But later in math, if you realize that that's actually what you're doing, it's going to make some stuff easier down the road. For right now, you can just say change the sign. That's how I make an opposite. Additive opposite. Okay, how are we doing so far? Well, why do we call them that? Because what is negative 4 plus 4? 0. They kill each other.
Yep.
They're like antiparticles. Boom! They kill each other. Right? I like it. Anybody watch Star Trek or something? Antimatter? Matter, antimatter, it's gone.
Matter.
Right?
Red matter.
Red. Oh yeah. Well, there you go. The red matter stuff. That's some serious shit. You don't deal with it. All right. Geek stuff. I like it. Okay. So that's the idea of opposite. I really want to make that clear, though, that there are two kinds of opposites because it gets confusing later down the road. There's the normal kind of opposite we're used to, but there's also this is just as deserving of the name opposite. So what about absolute value? What do you guys know about absolute value? Say again? I heard some good stuff, but I couldn't quite hear the whole thing. No? Say, I gave you one shot, man. I don't repeat myself. What? I don't know. What's the, does anybody know what the absolute value is? What's it look like? What's it do? It looks like a duck. No, it don't.
Is it like how much the number is from the 0?
Oh, were you the one that said? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the idea it's based on. I love it. So the idea is distance from 0 to start with. I mean, later we can make a distance from anything we want. But the absolute value symbols by themselves around a number means how far from 0 is this number. So what is the absolute value of 3? 3. Why? Because you got to go 3 steps out to get to 3. So what's the absolute value of negative 3? 3. It's distance. The answer can never be negative. Because it's distance. If you said you're negative 3 feet from me, are you in me? Don't take that wrong. Don't go too far with it. I was thinking more like Total Recall, you know.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Alright. Well, where you went with that. But how many steps do I take to get to negative 3? Still just 3 steps. So that you should know absolute value makes everything become positive. Except 0. What's the absolute value of 0? 0. And 0 is neither positive or negative. Or negative. Alright, maybe. Some guys look like you want to hurt me. Bring it on. I'll be alright. Come at me one at a time. I can't take the whole group. Alright, so for example, what about this here? This one's evil. A little bit. Where do you think absolute values are on the order of operations? What do they look like? Parentheses. They're the exact same level. So what do you do when you see parentheses? You do what's inside first. The big mistake. I got to immediately cross that out. That's crap. That is absolute crap. Because I don't know what the number is inside. I can't just change any negative I see to positive. If the number inside is negative, it will change the sign. If the number inside is positive, it won't do anything to it. So I got to know what the number is first before I do anything. So what is the number inside?
1.
Negative 1. And then the absolute value of -1 is? 1. There. You do what's inside first, and then you do what the absolute value is and what I have done. Is that semi-cool? Let me see if I can push you a little further. Yeah, I do. All right. Ooh, I like it. That's gross.
Minus 2?
Sabi. I'm like, I'm still working on it.
She could be right. She could be wrong. You never know. 2. So what do you do first up here? Yeah, you do inside here and inside there. Exponents. So it'll be 3 minus 4 minus 9. Am I done inside yet? So keep going. 3 minus absolute value of? Let me stop there for a second. You guys see that? Order operation saves your ass. You keep going until the inside of this is done. You keep going until the inside is done. Now I step out. And what's the next thing I do?
3 minus 5.
Absolute value -5 is?
5.
So it's 3 minus 5. -2, good. So don't make this 3 plus 5. Those two negatives don't die. Because what's the absolute value do to this negative?
Makes it positive.
Takes it away. So it's not still there to kill this negative, right? So it's 3 minus, what's this? 5. 3 minus 5. All right. I know I took a little bit of a big step there, but just to show you how I could throw the absolute values into an order operations problem that we've seen already. It's at the level of parentheses. Do inside first, then you do the absolute value, and then you just keep going with whatever's outside. Keep going. Okay, all right. See what other weirdness they have? Yeah. So like here they have, have you guys ever been to the lowest point in the States? It's, there's the salt flats out there. So one day it was 282 feet below sea level. So how would you identify that with a signed number, with an integer? 282 feet below sea level, negative 282 feet. And the next day I was 8,000 feet up in the air at Glacier Point throwing snowballs. It was really neat. One day it was 100 and something degrees in the salt flats, right? Showing like it was the apocalypse. And then the next day I'm throwing snowballs. That was awesome. Sorry. It was near Yosemite. So anyway, you're all like, that's good, Jeff. You get to travel, whatever. Sorry. It's all about signed numbers. Negative feet is how many feet below sea level you are, because we consider sea level to be like the 0 point, right? The 0 point of a number line. I like it. So you will see some problems with like negative below sea level subs and stuff. It's bad if your submarine is at 40 feet because something's bad's happened. You're out of the water for some reason. It's probably not a good thing. So there's some problems like that. Let me see if they got anything else freaky here. You got to make some number lines. That should not be a big deal. Oh, and how about this? Let me give you this here. Use the... What symbol would you use to make this a true statement? What was that? That was freaky. Is that you? Yeah.
I think
I was like, oh man, it started. The apocalypse is starting. Everybody to the vault. Which one of those is bigger?
8.
Yeah, what does this become?
8.
Negative? What's the absolute value of negative 8? Yeah, so you would put the inequality like that, right? Greater. Negative 8 is bigger than negative 9. So that's number one, is realize that How do these compare? Which one's bigger? 9, because 9 is more to the right.
Yeah.
Well, which one of these is more to the right?
8.
Negative 8. So the more negative you are, the smaller you're getting, because small in this sense means more to the left. You guys understand? So which one of these is bigger? Negative 4.9, because it's less negative than this. If you owed somebody money, which one would you rather owe them if you got to choose? This one. I know that's 10 cents more, but still, man, a dime. Shit, yeah. Please. All right, so there will be some questions like that. Use the right symbol to make it a correct statement. These inequality symbols. I like it. Oh yeah, here's a weird question. Do they do this to you? That is a weird question, but no, they don't do that to you yet. Okay. Tell me this. Is this a positive or a negative number? Is that a positive number or a negative number? Depends on what x is. I don't know what number that is. I mean, it's just like me saying, is this a positive? Is that a positive or a negative number?
I have no idea.
No idea.
It's an X.
So if x is 2, that is positive because x is 2, and that is because that's negative 2. If x is negative 7,
That's negative 7.
x is negative.
That's positive.
Negative 7 is positive. So be careful. Don't just look at this and says it has a negative sign. I don't know what that is. If that's negative, then the opposite of a negative number is positive. Yes.
So if we were to get, for example, just that example right there, if we were to get x, whatever x is, we just...
Yeah, you can just plug it in. So if x is